Curry has separated himself so far from the rest of the NBA when it comes to shooting that no one else is even in the conversation. But his shooting is only the tip of the iceberg when you start to think about why Steph Curry is so famous. And to fully understand that and get to where we are today, we first have to start in North Carolina at a small school called Davidson College. Coming out of high school, Steph Curry was an undersized guard, standing at 5'11 and weighing just 160 pounds. Despite his great shooting ability, every college coach overlooked him, except for one guy, Bob McKillop. Bob had been following Curry ever since his early high school years and felt like he was going to be the perfect player for Davidson. The greatest decision of Bob's career. Curry dashed onto the scene his freshman year, averaging 21.5 points and 3.6 threes a game on 41% shooting. He also would set the NCAA record for most three-pointers made by a freshman with 122. However, Davidson would lose in the first round of the tournament, and Curry would show flashes of greatness, but he was still a virtual unknown to the rest of the world. All that would change his sophomore year. After leading Davidson to a 26-6 record, including a dominant 20-0 conference record, Davidson would get rewarded with the 10th seed in March Madness. In the first round, they would match up against the 7th-seeded Gonzaga. Curry came into the game flat, only scoring 10 points in the first half. Determined not to get bounced in the first round again, Wardell Curry officially became Stephen Curry. Curry exploded in the second half for 30 points in an 82-76 win. In the second round, Davidson would be matched up against a 2-seed Georgetown in a game that no one in America believed they could win, except for Davidson, who went on to win the game 74-70 behind Curry's 30 points. This game will put Curry and Davidson on the map as this year's Cinderella story. Everyone began to notice this baby-faced kid named Steph Curry, including LeBron James himself, who, like everyone else, wanted to see him play. The next game, LeBron would be in attendance when Davidson matched up against a 3-seeded Wisconsin in the Sweet 16, and this game was never close. 10-seeded Davidson would blow out a 3-seed in a 73-56 win, and Curry would finish with 33 points. This unknown school out of North Carolina was now on the biggest stage of college basketball, ready to shock the world. But their next opponent was not going to be easy. They were going up against the powerhouse in the Kansas Jayhawks. The top-seeded Jayhawks featured 7 future NBA players and were favored to win it all. But as we know by now, this means absolutely nothing to Curry and Davidson. They still went into this game fully anticipating that they would win. They would give Kansas one of their hardest games the entire season. Curry would play in all 40 minutes and score 25 points. The game would remain close, and Davidson had a chance to make history and be a 10 seed in the Final Four.
At that point in time, we had the ball in the nation's best player in the biggest moment.
Pick and roll, Curry, 6 to go, frees himself, Curry, 4 to go, punts, kicks it out, Richard! Yeah, it's over! Kansas holds on, and the Jayhawks are heading to the Final Four. Why did Stephen Curry give up the ball?
This missed game winner by Richardson, the Cinderella story of Davidson, had come to an end. But this was just the beginning of the rise of Stephen Curry. He was the top story of college basketball regardless of the loss, and he was absolutely everywhere this year, including being featured on the Conan O'Brien show.
We came in thinking that we could play with anybody in the country, and it showed when we got out there. But I didn't think we would break the records that we did, or we exceeded a lot of people's expectations, so I'm just happy to be a part of it.
After that season, Curry's popularity began to die down. People still recognized him for that great run that he had in college, but his NBA career was nothing to really talk about. In the first 6 years of his career, Curry was plagued with consistent ankle injuries and never really found much success. But despite the injuries, Curry and the Warriors were still working on something very special. While most of the NBA were focused on the Miami Heat at the time, no one saw what the Warriors were building. The 2014-2015 NBA season can be described as Curry's coming out party. Before 2014, basketball peers believed that a team could not win an NBA championship relying on shooting threes. No team had ever done it before until the Golden State Warriors. Golden State would finish the season with a league best 67-15 record, behind Curry's MVP season. This year was truly special. No one outside of Golden State saw this coming. Curry was absolutely unstoppable, averaging 23.8 points and shooting 44% from 3. If we were to take a look at the best 3-point shooting season by an individual player since 1980, you would see that Stephen Curry's 2014-2015 season ranks above them all as the greatest 3-point shooting year ever. This season included countless highlights, but none of them are bigger than the 2 he did on the Los Angeles Clippers. The first one we have is when Curry dribbled between the whole Clippers team and then shot this ridiculous fadeaway 3-pointer. A shot that no one else on this planet would dare to even take or even look at. I always love Steve Kerr's reaction at this moment. He was just like, what are you shooting, Steph? That is ridiculous. He would then follow that up a couple weeks later, completely obliterating Chris Paul's ankle on this baseline move. The memes for this crossover went insanely viral, and Curry became a household name overnight. Moments like this during the year continue to happen, much like his game winner against the Orlando Magic, or this game winner he had in the playoffs against the New Orleans Pelicans. If there was any achievement to prove that Curry was becoming a household name in the NBA, it was the fact that he was the leading vote getter in the 2015 All-Star Game, a clear sign to the NBA that there is a new face of the league in town. Curry took home this year's league MVP honors, becoming the only player in NBA history to win the award by only playing 33 or less minutes per game. He even sat out the entire fourth quarter 17 times that season because of how dominant his team was. The Warriors and Curry would go on to win the NBA championship versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, which would cement Stephen Curry into NBA royalty as a player to win an MVP and an NBA championship in the same year. 2015 was truly Curry's year, and it was a great reminder to the rest of the world that had forgotten how legit this Davidson kid really was. This was the best year of Curry's career by far, and it seemed like he had finally reached his peak. But somehow Curry managed to get even better as he finished top 4 in most improved players the next season. 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors are 100% a where were you when this happened moment. Coming off the championship the year prior, the Warriors had a lot to prove. Most of the basketball world did not believe that the Warriors would have won that championship if Kyrie Irving was still there, myself included as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. The ring looked like a fluke to us, and no one thought that the Warriors could actually go and repeat this. However, no one questioned Steph Curry's greatness, and if you did, you didn't question it after this year. The Warriors began the season on a 24-game winning streak, the best start to an NBA season by any professional sports ever. This was just the beginning of the record-breaking season that the Warriors were about to have. They broke the NBA regular season record going 73-9, and then broke the record for most consecutive home wins at 54. They became the first team in NBA history to not lose back-to-back games in the entire season, and Steph Curry was named the first ever unanimous MVP. Just saying all of that doesn't really give you a full magnitude of how great Curry really was in the 2015-2016 season. 2016 was a highlight reel for Steph Curry. Every night it seemed like he was making a logo 3, throwing a crazy pass, or turning around before the shot even went in. NBA 2K, a video game, even came out and said they had to adjust their game because of Steph Curry's video game-like shooting. But there was no bigger moment this season that showed how great Curry really was than the game on February 27th. The Warriors would face off against one of the best teams in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the game lived up to his hype. Curry and Durant were trading baskets the entire game, but Curry was just on another level. Coming into the game, he was 9 3-pointers away from breaking his single season 3-point record once again. Down 3, this shot right here to tie the game would give Curry his 288th 3-pointer of the season and his 11th that game. The game would eventually go into overtime. Both teams traded baskets in the final minute, with the game tied at 118. Curry had the ball in his hands once again with a chance to win, and in Curry fashion, he did the unthinkable.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
I still remember this game vividly. I remember watching and being like, did he really just shoot from half court to game them? I was in disbelief. And at the time, I'm not going to lie to you, I was a hater. I was a LeBron fan. I was a hater. I literally remember tweeting out, that was a bad shot. Call me Paul George. Call me Paul George. I tweeted out, that was a bad shot. And in hindsight, for anyone else other than like Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, it probably is a bad shot. But 2015-2016 Curry was just that good. He was truly that special, and that game really highlighted that. I mean, the game he finished with 46 points in less than 38 minutes and made 12 out of 16 three-pointers, which was the game that he would break his record from the previous season of his single season three-point record. It was truly a one-of-a-kind performance. The Warriors had a record of 71-8 in games that Curry played that year, the best winning percentage of any MVP ever. In the 79 games that he did play, he only played in 64th quarters. That's 19 games where the game was decided by halftime, so he didn't even play the entire fourth quarter. Despite all of that, he still led the league in 11 40-point games and 3 games plus 50 points. And he also had one of the most clutch seasons we have ever seen from a player who didn't play in 19 fourth quarters. Here are some charts to prove that 2015-2016 Steph Curry was not a real human. This chart right here shows the clutch net rating of every top player from 2010 to 2022. And you can see that Steph Curry sits at the top, only losing to Chris Paul. This chart right here shows you the pull-up three-point percentage by every player that season with a minimum of 200 shots. As you can see, a lot of names on this list like James Harden, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, or Kevin Durant. And sitting above all of them for the best percentage on pull-up threes is Steph Curry. It's not just the fact that he shot 43% from pull-up threes this year, he shot almost 300 more pull-up three-pointers than anybody else this entire season. Okay, remember that chart that I showed you in 2015 where it had Curry being the number 1 in three-pointers made in a single season? Yeah, well, I forgot a line. If we added the 2015-2016 year, you would see that Steph Curry is literally on a whole different planet than everybody else on this list. And last is my favorite chart. I think this one just shows you how good of a shooter Curry really was this season. If we took every three-point leader of every season up until 2016 and made a chart based on three-pointers made and accuracy, it would look like this. As you can see, most of the league from 1987 and earlier made less than 100 threes a season and shot about 40%. Not bad. And then we see some more modern players in the middle making around 200 threes a season on about a 38% clip. Then you have the 2013, 2014, and 2015 Steph and Curry who are right above them, which makes sense. And then at the top right corner, which you might not have seen because it literally is off the charts, you have Stephen Curry 2015-2016 making over 400 three-pointers with an absurd 45% from the three-point range. Not only did he make more threes than any player in NBA history, he was also the most accurate to do it. Steph Curry in 2015-2016 put on the greatest shooting performance we have ever seen, and it's not even close. As a LeBron fan, I have said, and I will openly admit, I hate watched the entire season. That entire year, I hate watched. I wanted the Warriors to lose so bad. I watched that year in despair and in pure hatred. And man, I really missed out on arguably the greatest peak we have seen from an NBA player ever. I have to truly say that Steph Curry 2016 made his case for the greatest point guard of all time. Unfortunately for Curry and Warriors fans, he did not win the championship this year. But he would go on to win 2 more back-to-back in 2017 and 2018. Although he failed to secure that finals MVP that he's been wanting so bad both times. It was the last blemish on his nearly perfect NBA resume. But that's what makes the 2021-2022 season so impactful and so memorable for Stephen Curry. After losing in the 2019 finals, the Warriors' dynasty vanished within seconds. Kevin Durant left for Brooklyn in the offseason, Klay Thompson got injured for the foreseeable future, and Steph Curry suffered a hand injury which led him to missing most of the season. The Warriors would finish with the worst record in the NBA, only winning 15 games that year. And the next year, the Warriors would get back healthy, but would lose in the play-in tournament. It seemed like Goliath had finally been slayed, and all the torture that the Warriors had released on the entire league was finally coming back to bite them. At least, that's what it seemed like.
You don't want to see us next year.
That warning from Curry the year before should have been a sign for what Curry was about to do. Curry and the Warriors entered the 2021-2022 season with a chip on their shoulders for the first time since 2015. Curry came into the year with a different type of aura about him. He was playing like a man on a mission to remind the world of how great of a shooter he really was. And there was no better place for him to showcase that than the NBA All-Star Game. In a game full of stars, no star shined brighter than Stephen Curry. With the barrage of three-point shots, from half-court shots to three-point turnarounds, Curry put on a legendary performance, taking home the All-Star Game MVP with a 50-point performance on 16 made threes. This game was a showcase to the world that Steph Curry was the best shooter to ever walk the earth. But this was just a sneak peek for what Curry had in store in the playoffs. In one of the greatest playoff runs we have ever seen, Steph Curry put on a masterclass. In the first round, the Warriors would face off against the Denver Nuggets. Curry, coming off injury, was not in the starting lineup in the playoffs in the first time of his career, but that would not stop him from dominating the series. In Game 3, the Warriors found themselves up 114-111 with 48 seconds left on the clock. And after this dagger layup from Curry, a new celebration was born. Night Night, as it would later be named, became an iconic celebration for this postseason. In Game 5, the Warriors were up 3-1 against the Nuggets with a 3-point lead with less than 40 seconds. Again, Curry ended the game with the layups, putting an end to the Nuggets season. Night Night. In Game 6, the Warriors were up 3-2 against the Memphis Grizzlies. Curry then put the nail in the coffin with a sidestep 3. Night Night. In Game 2 against the Mavericks, Curry hits this deep dagger 3 to call it a game, and I'll let him say it this time.
Here's the signature. Night Night.
And then in Game 6, in the NBA Finals, the Warriors had a chance to win their 4th championship in 6 years, and Curry would go on to hit this dagger 3-pointer. And once again, Night Night. This celebration was not him just putting a series or a game to bed. This was also him putting all his doubters to bed. And then after winning his 4th title and finally winning his finals MVP, the conversation for greatest point guard ever was officially finished. No longer could sports analysts and NBA critics say that Steph Curry needs a finals MVP. Like Curry said, there was really nothing left to say.
What are they gonna say now? What are they gonna say now?
Steph Curry has accomplished everything an NBA player could in a career. He has cemented himself as an all-time great and the greatest point guard to ever play. He has single-handedly changed the way basketball is played and has done it all while being an undersized guard. Curry might have the greatest underdog story in sports we have ever seen, which is why he's not only one of the most famous players to ever play the sport, but a true inspiration to kids across the world. Let's just ask Flight.
Look to Curry, man. Inspirational shit.
If you like this video, make sure you drop a like and a subscribe. And as always, hope you have a beautiful day and God bless.